Hello, my friends. I'm so happy that you are here. We have a phenomenal guest for you. His energy is just lighting up the space. I can't wait to introduce you to him. But first, I have to tell you that the retreat for the Awaken Mastermind was amazing. I cannot believe how amazing it was. And I cannot wait to get the next 6 women in this mastermind. The applications are open and you can get in there, apply. This launches May 2020. You do not want to miss. This is only for 6 women, which means it opens and it closes. And I want you in it if this calls to your soul. Our retreat was better than I could have ever planned. And I feel so honored to serve these women and their purpose. And if you have not checked out the Awaken jewelry line, head over to my website, KeiraPoulsen.com. Guys, this is my favorite piece right here. This is Poseidon. This one actually has a heart right in the center. Guys, you have to see this jewelry. Not only is it just beautiful, but the mantras that go with it, they will speak to your soul. They are powerful, and I love them. Everything about this piece. I love all of the spiritual aspects, the energetics behind every piece of jewelry. So head over there and know that I have a piece just for you. So now that we have jumped over all the amazing things that are happening over here, the last thing I want to let you all know is that I have established a date, May 2nd, 2020. We are having my first event. It's called Rise Up and Awaken. You are not going to want to miss this. I have phenomenal human beings coming in, teaching you how to rise up in your power and awaken your gifts so that you can really show up powerfully in whatever area you are in life. So I want you there, and we're going to have ticket sales very, very soon. So just put it on your calendar because I would love to have you be a part of this sacred, powerful event. Now for today. Today we have Julian Rosen. First time had it. We practiced it and I got it wrong. Julian Rosen on the show. And you guys, I'm so excited. Julian, thank you so much for being here.
This is awesome. I've been looking forward to this since we first exchanged emails and we had that intro from Carson, but obviously learning more about you and your story, I was just like, this is where I'm meant to be on this amazing Thursday is looking at you and talking to you and creating whatever we're about to create. So I'm pumped.
Good. I'm excited too. So I actually don't like to read bios. I love for you to share who you are, what you do in the world. So that's just like so authentic for you. So if you could kind of let my listeners know who you are.
Yes. My name is Julian Rosen, and I am a coach, a thought leader, a husband, a dog dad, an uncle. I'm a lot of things to a lot of people, but fundamentally what I wake up and do every day is help this burnt out success chaser who is juggling all of this anxiety and burnout and doubt all by themselves and really help them evolve into this passionate, peaceful, and prosperous difference maker in their life, in their career, in their family, in their whatever the heck is important to them. And the modalities that I use, I love bridging that gap, and I'm sure you do as well, between science and spirituality, because the more that we learn about ourselves and the universe, all the spiritual stuff is true, right? Like everything that we can now measure, it's just like, oh, quantum physics is the law of attraction. Epigenetics is what Buddha and Plato were talking about in terms of how we can heal ourselves. Look at all this cool stuff that we've kind of already known. So I utilize different modalities like neurophysiology, subconscious recoding, a lot of these kind of cool sciencey sounding things, but really what they do is they allow you to really release these parts of your ego that are hijacking your moments. And when you can do that, just life becomes what it was truly meant to be, which is joyous, explorative, and expansive. So that's what I do for clients, for people I come in contact with. I just try to do it every day, whether it's in a client container or not. And it's really fun.
I love it.
It is really fun.
It really is, right? Like, I don't think there's anything more fun in the world than helping people step into their purpose.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So And recently, this is really cool. I've gone through many phases of how I measure success. And obviously I went through all of the conventional ones with like money and stuff, and that was fine. And it served its purpose for my role then and there. But I've actually started at the end of the day, gauging my success on what was my predominant emotional state on that day. And I am proud to say that consistently it is just peace. Like, and this isn't blowing smoke. This isn't like a lot of people can fake it, especially on social media and stuff. Like, come out to Austin and see me. Like, this is just like, life is really, really awesome. And it's not because I've been adding a lot to it, but I've just been finding ways to just remove and let go of things. And so that's where I'm at. I'm in that phase right now. And it's cool.
I would say that's a pretty good phase.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, I would love to dive in and learn a little bit about how you woke up to this, because I'm sure this was not always your life, right? Yes. And so I'd love to know your story of your awakening into this space and what you do now. Would you be able to share that?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And like many of your listeners, and I'm like you as well, like there's certain things I've always felt, and I didn't know how to validate it or quantify it or measure it. So I would just kind of just be like, "Ooh, that was a nice feeling," and go on living my life. And all of that changed when I was 22 years old, and I'm the self-proclaimed like biggest mama's boy ever. Like, love my mom insanely, passionately. Like, we never went through a weird rebellious phase. Like, we were always best friends. And so when I was 22, she got diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer. And it was basically 12 months of poison and pain and her just literally losing body parts. And eventually she, passed on. And so when I was 22, I was like, and it's funny, in the United States and in the West, when you're 22 and like when you kind of leave that college world, society's like, cool, go do grown-up stuff now. Go figure all your stuff out because you're grown up now. So I was like, whoa, definitely not ready for this. Also, my guide, my person, my support system is gone now, right? And so that was just a very painful, anxious place. And we learn all kinds of nifty stuff growing up. No one ever teaches you how to navigate this emotional space, this energetic space. And so being a 22-year-old, I'm like, oh, I'll numb it. I'll distract it. I'll drink it away. I'll drug it away. I'll party it away. I'll go make a bunch of money and busy it away. And obviously, as you know, none of it worked. Yeah. And if anything, those brought me down. Those slowed down my consciousness. They brought me in a really dark, dark place where it got to the point where I would stay awake and stare at the ceiling as long as I could because I hated the idea of having to do the day again. I hated waking up. So that's where I was. So I went and I saw a doctor and he's like, hey, take a bunch of these pills to make you better. So I was on a bunch of antidepressants and anti-anxiety and all this stuff. And really the awakening was, and it was so amazing. I love to replay it in my head, but it was late at night. I was fighting the urge to fall asleep because I didn't want to wake up and have to be myself for another day. And I was like, whoa, like I am Julian experiencing depression, but I am not it. Like that was like that little bit of space, wedging that space between me and what I was identifying as. I was like, oh, and I just felt this thing lift off me. And I was like, something just happened there. But because I didn't know what it was, or, I was not enlightened or conscious or spiritual at all at that time, I was like, ooh, that was kind of nice. And the pain subsided. Maybe I should do that again sometime. And so in that little bit of space, I was like, I'm not happy and I know that, but I'm not broken either. My body is not just being mean to me. The universe did not just assign me depression for the rest of my life. This is a sign. This is feedback. Something is off. This is not useless suffering. And so that's what really woke me up. And from there, I really just started to go with not what made the most sense on paper going forward, but like what made me intensely happy in the moment. And right then and there was fitness. I was like, you know what? I don't know how I'm going to make this a career. I don't know how I'm going to scale it and get a 401k, all these things that we're taught to worry about. I'm just like, when I'm doing fitness stuff, I feel really good about myself and others. I'm going to go get certified and help people and become a performance coach and a strength coach. And when I did that and overrode all of this conditioning and all this fear and all these limitations that weren't actually there, just expansion happened. Like personally, professionally, financially, all this cool stuff happened. And I was like, when I take action in the face of all this fear, just cool stuff happened, right?
Yeah.
That was the pattern. And so I just kept doing that again and again and again. So I was like, okay, now start an online fitness coaching business, and did that again and again and again. And then did the same thing with what I do now with all of this transformational mindset coaching. Like, I was just like, okay, I have nice things here, but this call in my heart is calling me this way. Let's lean in. Let's do it again and again and again. And so that's what's brought me to this point where I've just been building the tool belt, because when I'm learning certain things, my heart feels good. Mm-hmm. And I've just made that the guide. And so now what I know about the subconscious mind and neurophysiology and our chemical addictions to the past and all of these things, I'm like, all this amazing information keeps happening at the exact right time to initiate me into the healer that I'm becoming. Wow, this is cool. And so now looking back, I'm like, it all happened on purpose. How cool is that? Even the death and the depression all happened on purpose. So, but yeah, to answer your original question, it was that one night where I'm like, I, Julian the being, am experiencing the temporary sensation of depression. It is not who I am. And that opened up everything forever.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I love it. What I love so much is, and this is one of my deepest beliefs, is that we just have this divine self inside of us that is called to do huge things. Mm-hmm. And your divine self showed up for you in that moment. Like, Julian, it's time. And you were able to follow it, because that doesn't always happen for everyone, right? Like, I think everyone experiences something where they get that moment of like, there's more. Yeah. And when you can follow it, it's magic and miracles all the time. Yeah. And that's what happened. And I love your story. I love that you were able to get through the muddiness, mm-hmm. and you're able to like actually get massive traction, and you did amazing things over and over. And I think what's so powerful, I really want to just pinpoint this. It was because you took action in the face of fear. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, my coaching platform is called the Fearless Life Project, because if we get brutally honest with ourselves, like, we can all conceive of a greater version of ourselves. Yeah. Right? We can all see ourselves being, having, and doing more than what we currently are. Not because right now we're weak and stupid and inadequate. It's just, we're here to expand. Therefore, our soul can conceive something better of ourselves. Cool. And that creates that cognitive dissonance, right? We're like, wait, I'm capable of this, yet I open my eyes and I see myself settling for X, Y, and Z. That creates ickiness. Yeah. But if we're honest with ourselves, and for all of you listening, I'm making this gesture with my hands, right? Like, here's where we are, or here's where we are, here's where we want to be, right? Point A and point B. And the reason why we don't boldly embark on that journey, we all have our conditioned surface level excuses. Me too. I'm not calling you out. I'm just saying we all have our surface level reasons why we don't think, or our surface level limitations. But if we dig down deep enough, there's always a fear. Yeah. There's always a fear running amok in your subconscious that is the thing that gets its grips on you, or puts you in this straitjacket, right? Mm-hmm. And that's really when, and it was so crazy how this happened, but I remember if you looked at my Instagram during this part of my life, you would have been like, Julian's the coolest. I was living on the beach in Hawaii with the love of my life. I was super tan and in shape. I was building a 6-figure fitness business, working from wherever, right? Like this Instagram nomad dream thing, right? I was waking up every day freaking miserable because I just went out and grinded my way to someone else's version of success. I was like, wait a minute. If I like fitness because it's a pillar of self-love and change, but like, if I have to talk about abs and body fat one more time, I'm going to punch myself in the head, right? Like, I knew in my heart it was time to expand, grow, and change and create bigger impact using my gifts at a deeper level. I knew that for months. Fear was like,
Yo, but you're the fitness guy. You can't be that guy. Everyone already knows you as the fitness guy. You don't know how to initiate neurological transformation, even though I did, right? Like just stuff the ego creates. So for months I would post about how great things were on Instagram and all these things, which almost made things worse internally. And I was like, God, this sucks. Why aren't I doing this? And again, like after all the surfacey level things about timing and expertise and how the market's saturated, all the things that my ego wants to tell me are valid, it was fear. I was afraid of being seen for who I truly am. I was afraid of expanding to where my ego has never been. I was afraid of things. And I'm like, if I can systematically and strategically help myself and others remove fear from their decision-making and their habits and their view of life, good things are going to happen, right? And so we flew back from Hawaii. I moved to Nashville, and I literally locked myself on the third floor of my house and just filled up almost like a whole notebook of just like, this is the Fearless Life Project. These are the things I teach. These are the things I stand for. These are the things I stand against. I've never done this before. Holy shit, this is scary. And then invested time, energy, and money in making it happen.
Yeah.
Without, and this is important, without the perfect plan of how A is going to lead to B to C to D to E to F to G all the way to Z. That doesn't exist. Everybody wants that surefire, easy, guaranteed thing. That's just not how this universe unfolds for you. It will unfold for you and on your behalf. Promise you that. You will not be deprived of anything. But if you're standing on the sidelines because you're like, okay, I can maybe see how A can lead to B, but ooh, what if B gets to C and this goes wrong or this goes wrong as I go to D, E, F, G? And it's like, yo, stop leaving the now.
Right.
Stop leaving the now to go anticipate some doomsday future based on some subjective past you've created, right? Like, It's like a pendulum, right? We swing into the future and try to anticipate it. But because your ego mind has never been there, you swing back violently to the other end of the spectrum, the past, and your ego's like, okay, look at all these things that went wrong. Even if it didn't happen to you, even if it was just a story or a stat you heard about, you're like, okay, so if this is what happened in the past, and then we hit copy, paste.
Yeah.
This is probably what's going to happen in the future. Therefore, I'll stay where I am. It's like, this is the fear pendulum. It wants to pull you into this fear-based anticipatory future so that your subconscious goes into the past in the Rolodex of your painful memories and it goes, this one's probably going to happen. And it just craps negativity on who you can become. And you're left in the fetal position procrastinating. You're like, right? And I'm speaking about it because I've been there.
Yeah, so have I. And I want to stop for a second and just kind of like highlight some pieces here that I think are so powerful. One, and this is one of the things I talk about all the time, is that when we feel called to do something, like you were called to be more than the fitness guy, but then when you didn't, that's what creates the suffering. So when we're called to do something and we don't follow, that's where all of our suffering and our unhappiness actually lives. So if you as a listener are in a space of suffering, I'm going to invite you to sit inside your soul and see if there was a call that you ignored because of fear, because of your past experiences, because of all the excuses or even people's ideas, right? I think a big piece, and I want to hear what you think of this, is that people get called in their soul to do something big, but then other people chime in and then they stop listening inside.
Yeah.
Right.
100%. And, I want to ask you really quickly because it's easy to look at you or me and be like, oh, that's just how they are, right? Like they're very ambitious and they trust this universe. Be honest, right? How long did you have the call in your heart to build this platform and build this podcast and build these retreats and build these coaching experiences before you actually did it, right? Like how long?
So I remember being 18 and being at the Landmark Forum, which is like a educational, right? And I remember sitting in there being like, I'm supposed to do big things. I have no idea what they are. And I didn't listen. And I didn't, it wasn't like I was like, cool, I'm going to start asking God, what are these big things? It was just like, I'm supposed to do big things. And then I let it go. And I would say I wasn't in suffering for years. I actually had a lot of joy, but there was always this depression that was in the flavor of my life. Right? Yeah. And when my trauma memories hit and I woke up and I was like, hey, if I'm going to live, God, you better show me why I'm here to live. And then I never said no again. Like it's on my it is just a part of my cells that every idea that comes,
Yes.
it's just a yes. And I would say the last 2.5, 3 years I've been doing that, I've never had more joy in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I completely agree. Right. And, we all love wordplay. It's nice, right? So if you can add suppressed plus desire, or desire plus suppression equals depression, right? Like, even if it's not clinical depression and you're on the medication, right? Like, when we depress the call on our heart, what happens when you pool or you dam water, right?
Mm-hmm.
Water that wants to flow and expand, and right, it gets toxic, it gets septic, right? Yeah. Same thing, like all of this energy that flows into our heart and wants to be transmuted into something impactful, if we just repress it and dam it up, we block its flow, it gets toxic, right? And it turns into something nasty, right? Yeah. It turns into something nasty. And so, but back to your original question, yes, so many of us, we do have the idea, or we do have the call in our heart, and then we either share the idea with someone who kind of drags it down. But let's be honest, a lot of times we just fantasize. We're like, shoot, what if this person thinks I'm a weirdo, right? What if this person thinks I'm a weirdo, right? What if all the people who think Julian's the fitness guy see him doing mindset and transformation stuff and think he's a weirdo, right? Like, none of that was actually true in my moment of reality. But I got out, I call it the crystal ball of bullshit, right? And I was like, ooh, look at all these bad things that can happen. So a lot of the times it's just psychosocial. It's not actually part of our factual reality that people aren't supporting us. Yeah. It's all, right? It's all that pendulum, right? We try to swing into the future, but we swing into the past to predict the future. So 100%, that is a huge killer of momentum. And it's to the listener being like, oh shoot, that happens to me, right? Like, it's really actually not your fault or my, it's, as human beings, from a place of evolutionary psychology, right? Like, we've literally evolved to really crave acceptance, because tens and thousands of years ago, if we got kicked out of our tribe, we froze to death or starved to death or got eaten by bear things, right? So it's like literally at a very, very primal level, we associate the threat of rejection with like isolation and death. So yeah, like it's a very real sensation. But just like that moment I had in that night where I'm like, wait a minute, like I'm seeing it, I'm not being it. I'm seeing it, I'm not being it. You can see that fear of failure or rejection, but you don't have to put it on like a straitjacket and be like, oh, it's who I am now. Yeah. And again, that little bit of space is where you can step in, you, listener, the being, not the ego, can step in and be like, oh, let's go to work.
Yeah.
And that's where good stuff happens.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. And I would love, because I really want people who are listening to be able to take what we're talking about right now and implement it immediately, right? Mm-hmm. So if they're listening and maybe this is the first time they've seen, holy crap, I actually was called to do something 3-5 years ago. I felt this idea or this inspiration, and for me, it's such a pull in my heart. Like, it literally feels like the energy is pulling me forward from that space. And they see, holy cow, this is why I'm suffering, because I said no, because I'm in fear, and because all my old stories, my old patterns, they're coming back and showing me this is what's going to happen if you try it.
Yeah.
What would you say to them? How could they get out of this? I feel like it's quicksand, right? Like, how do they get out of the quicksand and begin to step on land?
Yeah, that's a very good, tangible metaphor. I love that. So, because quicksand is fantasy, solid land is truth. What is real and what is true? So what is real and what is true is, and this is the beautiful thing, we can come at it spiritually or from a place of quantum physics, right? The truth is, you are here on purpose. And the truth is, that call on your heart was there on purpose, because universe, life source, energy, whatever you want to call it, it works through you, right? And whatever that call in your heart was, I guarantee you, in some way, shape, or form, it supported the expansion of life somewhere else too. And because this universe works through us and it inspires us to do things that ultimately awaken and positively impact others, that's life seeking fuller life expression through us. So you have to trust that this thing that inspired you, that is calling you forward, once you leap to take action, it's not going to turn its back on you and give you the middle finger and say, just kidding. It's just, that's not how the universe works. It cannot work against itself. It cannot work towards the suppression of life, because then the whole universe would be chaos and it would explode.
Yeah.
Right. Look at how this little seed turns into a redwood, right? Like, I can't explain the mechanisms that it goes from that to that, but it's just life seeking fuller expression.
Mm-hmm.
That's all nature is. And so we're part of nature. And so you can really cultivate this bold trust. Like, if I'm being called forward by this force that only wants fuller expression of life, and I am life, it can't turn its back on me. It can't not support me. Yeah. And when you can remember that, very, very, very cool things happen. And like I said, for all our left-brained scientific thinkers out there, quantum physics has already validated this, that we're all connected. If we zoom in far enough, we're all the same exact things of vibrating energy and quantum potential. That's all we are. Yeah. And so, like, the thing that called you forward is connected to everything and the betterment of everything, and will support the betterment of itself, of which you're a part. So it's like, turn your trust up to 11, because it's just scientifically and spiritually true. So cultivating that trust is very, very important. And you do that in stillness. You do that by connecting with God. And that's just stillness, right? Stillness is where God is. God isn't when you're swinging on the pendulum into the future or revisiting the past to try to predict the future. That creates suffering, right? Because we're resisting the moment, which is actually engineered precisely perfect for what it has to be. So don't fight that. So the trust is first. Second is, go into that stillness. Go back into that stillness with the intention of, where's the expansion calling me? And when I say detach from any expectation, I mean, like, don't bring your old rehearsed expectations and identities into this space. Literally go blank. Literally come into this moment. And here's the thing, your ego is like a bucking bronco, right? So when you come into stillness, your brain is going to want to swing into the future or swing into the past, right? Just like a wild horse, like going nuts. But if you can ride that thing out, it will tucker out and you will be left with the moment. And in that moment, something will speak to you. It may be a lightning bolt. It may just be a little intuitive nudge in a direction, but it'll be there. And when you can detach from the need from the perfect 20-step plan and just say, this is the direction within my current circumstances, this is one action I can take in this direction, you will be supported in the unfolding. I've never seen it not work. And I mean that, I've never seen it not work.
I agree. And I think there are so many humans, me included, because of the trauma I went through. Trust is the last thing on my list. Like, to earn my trust, it is very, very tricky. But God is the one thing that I have always seen show up, even in the moment when I was like, where is God that he would let me go through all this trauma? Where is God for when there's hell everywhere? He still was there. And he continues to show up for me every single day if I choose to walk, right? Like, he can't actually take me anywhere if I don't do anything. But if he gives me an insight and an inspiration, I step into it, it's like the path's just open. And it's interesting, this morning when I was doing my journal work, I saw this is why I said quicksand, because I saw this visual of me being stuck up to my neck in quicksand until the moment I realized it was an illusion. And then the quicksand all dissipated, right? And so like, that's, for me, that's what happens with trust, is like, we let go of the illusions that we're all alone, that we're not supported, that we can't do anything, because through this higher power, anything and everything is possible, right? And so I love that you bring in the trust. And I think also how you're talking about this stillness. I talk a lot about creating sacred space. Find a place in your life. I have mine in a closet. It's my favorite room in the whole world. And this closet brings me closer to my inner self, to God, to the work I'm supposed to do. And it's designated for sacred work, right? So I think people just like locating a place, a physical place where they say, this is where I meet the divine. This is where I meet myself.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be this like grand, water under the waterfall or whatever. It can be it's all about the intentional energy you bring to it. It could be a closet. It could be a seat. It could be the shower, right? It can literally be anywhere, but it's the energetic expectation that you impress upon it that really activates its meaning for you. And yeah, like stillness is key, right? Stillness is key. Stimulus is not. Stimulus activates, our sympathetic nervous system, our caveman, cavewoman, like it puts us on threat detection mode. And so when we're in threat detection mode and there's not an actual problem in our life, we'll create one, right? We'll create one to worry about. We'll create all these negative what if scenarios and then use all of our mental energy creating problems or creating solutions to problems we don't even have yet, right? It's like, hey, that's what stimulus does, right? That's what, I love how Facebook's like, we're about connecting people. All social media is here to keep you addicted to it so they can sell you stuff. Like that's really what it is, right? Like, so it's like, let's call it what it is and like use it, have a space and time for it, but also it can't coexist with the time and energy and space you have for stillness. It's gotta be separate, right? And when you do that, you'll start to be, because everyone's like, oh, I just want clarity. If I had more clarity, then I'd take action. Well, clarity will come in stillness only.
Yeah, agreed. Oh, I wish we could just talk for hours because this is just so fun for me.
Fun, right? This is good stuff, people. This is we're having fun. We have our color-coded cup and headphones.
I have my 7-year-old's seafoam green headphones on today, and he has a seafoam green cup. It's all in alignment.
It's all in alignment.
It's all in alignment. Yeah. Well, what I love to do is I love to end an episode with one, where can people find you? So let's talk about that first. So if people are like, oh my gosh, Julian speaks to my soul. I needed to know more about who he is and what he's doing. Where's the best place for me to send them?
True. So if I could recommend one secret action for you to take right now, it would be to go on to Keira's website and sign up for her mastermind and her May event. That is what I would do first if I was serious about raising my consciousness and my level of being. Second thing to do would go on Instagram and find me. It's Julian, Julian _fearless life. And that I've just really made that platform my own. So new IGTV episodes every week, just tons of freebies and giveaways on there as well. Just tons of really powerful stuff. And then I've actually created an assessment, a mindset assessment for a lot of people who they know they're being blocked. They know they're being held back. They know they're repeating cycles of anxiety and overwhelm, but they don't actually know the root cause. And so a quick 10-step assessment to actually give you clarity on what is your block. And then based on your results, you'll get a customized training program as well. And that is livethefearlesslife.com/clarity quiz. And I think you'll link it in the show notes, maybe.
Of course. Yeah. Of course, I'll link it in the show notes. But sometimes people never go to the show notes. So I like to just say it in their ears so that they can have it. And I can't wait to take that. That's going to be an amazing assessment. I'm excited about that.
And you'll get some free training and coaching as well. So yeah, the gram is the place to go. And yeah, comment. I'll respond personally. Message me. I'll respond personally. No bots or weird things like that. Like if you want to jam, I'll jam with you and answer any questions for you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, how I love to end my show, if there is like one thing that you would just love to share with my listeners that you feel like is your top deep core belief, what would that be?
So the top core belief is that we, without exception, are already whole and complete. And every reason you have for feeling incomplete, you learned it at an age when you couldn't even consent to it. It happened between the ages of like 3 and 11. So make your journey not this quest of accumulating stuff so that you can give yourself permission to feel a certain way, which is how we've all been conditioned since a very young age, right? But like I said, return to that stillness and explore what is waiting for you when you can get off that pendulum of anticipating the future by using the past, when you can just, I call it the razor's edge of right now. In this moment, as breath fills your lungs and 8 billion things go right at a cellular level every single second, just for us to breathe. Come on, you're a miracle. Like, here now, you're good. And in that next moment, you're good. And in the next moment, you're good. So your ego wants to remind you that, well, you don't have this yet, or you haven't done this yet, or this person is doing this, right? Ego, not you. So make a commitment to live on the razor's edge of now and just watch your emotional and energetic state elevate dramatically.
Yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, this has been a blast. This is awesome.
Yes, I knew we were going to have fun.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I just want to end this episode for every single listener. I hope that this inspired and maybe woke up a call in their heart that they had forgotten, that they had dug deep, that they had ignored, and that they say yes. And that in that yes, they create some sort of sacred space in their life to begin to receive all the inspiration that is going to lead them to the miracles that are on the other side of the yes. I feel this so deep. I'm so grateful for this conversation. So I'm sending all of my love out to every single human who's listening. And thank you for being here. And we will see all of you next week on the Awaken Podcast Show.